Hey everyone, hope you're having a great week. Well, last week we talked about some future planning. This week we're going to be talking about something completely different. Payroll. We haven't talked about anything hard business related in a while, and I think payroll is one of those things that you really should know a little bit about, at least the basics, if you're going to consider running your own thing. Because you might eventually get to a point where you might want an employee or two, depending on your business. So, we're going to go over just a few things that are good to know, a few little cool tips and tricks about employees, and then we're actually going to do a live simulation of doing payroll on the internet. Only valid if you're in most parts of Canada, so definitely, make sure that you know where you're located so you know what to do for your area. So when you're doing payroll, it's important to know actually how payroll works, because this is all about giving your employees the right amount of money and giving the government the right amount of money. If you mess up on either account, you have an employee potentially that could sue you if you underpay them. You could potentially run into issues yourself if you overpay them. You won't have enough cash for yourself and your business. And then if you somehow mess up and the government does audit you, they're going to find that mess up and then you're potentially going to be fined a lot of money. So you don't want to do that. That's why it's important to understand everything there is to know about the basics of payroll. Here's the very short version of it. You have a business license, you have a registered business. You're thinking, I want to hire some employees. What you got to do is you got to fill out all the paperwork with the government so that you can actually hire employees in the first place, along with other things like maybe WSIB, which is your workplace safety board stuff. And then the government sends you papers that have to do with filing remittances every month. It's important that when you hire an employee in the first place, you have a detailed contract that specifically says, you make this amount of money, you get this amount of vacation pay, this amount of money might get deducted from your taxes in some companies' cases. You want to make sure that everything's laid out so your employee understands exactly what they're going to get paid, so there's no issues on the road for the employee or you. Then you want to make sure you have a detailed system to log all their hours. Fairly basic. You can either just, time clock, like a computer digital one or whatever, or you can just manually write down their hours, whatever you want to do. Then you have to actually do the calculations for how much they actually get paid. So it's whatever, their hours times their wage, whatever. Unless they're like a salary and they get X amount of dollars every week, that's fine too. Just make sure that you write it down. In this part of the world, there's something called a Dean's Payroll book. A lot of businesses actually use one of these to log all of their employees, their information, and their hours, and it's good for a whole business year. So that's fun. Just something to keep in mind. I personally used one of these before, and I also duplicate the records on Excel. That way there are multiple records in case something happens, like a fire. You never know, you don't want to lose all your information. So it's definitely good to have everything in multiple areas.
Yo!
Oh, hello.
How's it going?
Hello.
You came with food, but didn't get me a... The supervisor, I'm like, no one gives a fuck about your...
And the same Vegeta and Goku as Gogeta, or they were Vegeto.
Into like a machine body that looks human, and then they're like, yeah, one day human
Game.
Yep.
Yeah. The evolution.
Fun fact.
That's $48 too today.
It didn't cost me all that much.
Now, I'm just going to give you a few tips real quick that might actually help you in the long run. I'm not going to dig into them too much because some of them goes into some advanced payroll mechanisms, and that could drastically vary based on where you are in your situation. But I'm just going to give you a little bit of, fun stuff to think about. Number one is the idea of casual labor. Casual labor is basically an informal, you have someone come to the store, they do something for you, and you just give them money and call it a day. That's what casual labor is. It's not recorded except for the fact that you paid casual labor to someone. That's it. There's no government paperwork, there's no nothing. Really quick, really easy. You don't want to abuse this because if you do get audited by the government, you don't want a large number of casual labor. Basically, the government sees that, they'll think you're trying to avoid paying them taxes. So you just want to be careful with that. But casual labor is a good way, maybe, if you don't need someone to work full-time or even part-time. You know, if it's just a little bit, casual labor might be the way to go. Depending on your location, your situation, and your business, you can actually use employees as a bit of a tax bracket. Basically, you can use employees to funnel some of the tax money in that direction instead of a different direction. Just think about that. That's all I'm going to say about that. One last little tip to keep in mind is when you start to have employees, you need to start considering sick days and vacation days. Vacation days are already kind of allotted because of the payroll mechanism, but sick days are something you really should account for. You don't necessarily have to pay your employees unless it's in your contract. Some contracts do have paid sick days and some don't, depends on where you are. But you do want to be careful with the sick days. There are ways to kind of float around it, which we're not going to get into in this video, but I'm mentioning it just so you're aware. It does impact your payroll. You don't want to be paying someone for a day they're not here if you don't have to. That covers all the stuff that's really good to know about payroll. On the surface, on basics, it's really an easy topic. There's not too much to get into, but it gets complicated if you want to get complicated with it, which we're not going to do here. But if you guys have any questions about payroll, ask, or do your own research too, based on where you are, because I'm not really familiar with the USA payroll system. We're going to go over some vlog footage from the weekend, and then at the end of the video, there's going to be a demonstration on how in Canada you can do your online payroll with the government and their official payroll calculator. So if you want to learn something, or you're in Canada, you can stick around and watch that video. If not, I understand. If you're also here just to, you know, for the payroll information, not the card information, just skip to the payroll section. That works too. Anyway, I thank you guys for watching and enjoy the rest of the video. "40 minutes starts now."
Okie dokie results.
Yes.
Hooray.
Go ahead into a super door.
So 500 each.
Yeah.
And 40 days.
Yep.
Domain.
You would stop that play.
Well, communication.
Spanish too.
We're still continuing to have small locals due to the restrictions by the pandemic. So we had 4 rounds of top 4, 9 people. And when that was all done, we had ourselves some delicious pizza and worked on a few things and played games.
Have the chart make
Carter! Brandon!
Hi.
Blake!
Dave.
Gannon! Mario! Oh, got it. Andrew!
Awesome.
Andrews is the last one patiently. Coming and just absolutely fucking.
So what happened?
I just haven't like flipping it.
I got really lucky.
And the train coming.
He sacked me. He kind of sacked me.
So did you win your second locals in a row now?
Yes.
With what
trains.
deck? Trains?
Machina track trains.
It's a fucking train wreck.
We're just going to do a quick live demonstration on how to do payroll on the computer end. This way can get you official documents as well in case you ever get audited by the government. It's important to have the official documents, and if you do it properly, it calculates your CPP and your EI for your employees. So that's kind of cool. So we're going to go to Payroll Calculator, which is this website. It goes into a whole bunch of stuff that you can read if you want to. I know all about it, so we're going to go to Accept. First step is picking their type of pay. We're just going to pick salary, but you can pick whatever you want, whatever's appropriate. We're just going to use sample employee and sample business. We're going to go Ontario, bi-weekly. These are all editable depending on where you are. Keep in mind that the States obviously doesn't have this, as dumb as that might sound. I probably should mention it. So just keep in mind that I'm not official source of information by any means. I'm just a guy that does random things sometimes. I could be all crap, you never know. Anyway, with that disclaimer out of the way, you put all this information in, you go next. I picked an arbitrary amount, $11.20. That's from minimum wage is $14 an hour, and we're going to assume this is a brand new employee that works 40 hours a week at your business at $14 an hour. So that's 80 hours. If you go by bi-weekly, that's $11.20. If there were any vacation pay, you put it in there. If there are any bonuses, you put them in there. If any of these random benefits apply, you put them in there. If any of these clergy benefits apply, you put them in there. But that's very, very rare, probably not. So you go to next. This is for additional tax deductions, and there's claim amounts here with drop downs. We won't get into that in this video, but those are there. This is where you typically put your how do I word this? This is where you put your pensionable earnings and the CPP contributions, as well as the same for EI contributions and the premiums deducted. What this means is you're supposed to have these numbers and they accumulate every paycheck. So you just throw, oh, this person's made this much amount of money this year, that's pensionable. And then this person's had this much CPP deduction taken off this year. If you have all your records, you'll be able to calculate those numbers easily by adding them all together. So there you go. So you put in these numbers here and here, down here, and if they've reached their max, great. And then this is the EI premium rate, which is 1.4, and this is an exception. So you can edit it if you want to, but we're not going to. So you calculate, and then here you see their pay. So you see their total income, you see the taxes taken off, and then you see the CPP and the EI taken off, total tax deductions, and that's the net amount. That's actually the amount you pay your employee. They worked for $11.20 gross, and that's what you're giving them. These year-to-date amounts of C, it shows you every time you do this, it calculates this number for you as long as you keep putting the numbers in. So it's very easy to calculate this. You just got to do it. You can print and save the result to have it for your records. And then there's one more thing I'll briefly touch, which is the employee remittance summary. Without going into too much detail in this video, based on, we're going to say Ontario right now, depending on your employees, you have to pay remittances every month, once a month. What that is this number, which can change depending on how many employees you have, how much they work, so on and so forth. I don't want to really get into it, but this is something you got to pay the government every month, which is kind of nice that, you know, they take their share now instead of maybe doing it as a lump sum at one point in the year. That would be kind of silly. So that's all you got to know about remittance for now. I'm not going to touch on it too much. If you want more information, though, you can search for employee remittance summary to get everything you need, including how to pay it and what to do, and get the forms and all that. If you are a registered business with a payroll system with the government, with the CRA, they will send you your remittance forms, and it's as easy as following the instructions. That's the too long didn't read, or too long didn't look that up. Anyway, that's your little payroll tutorial for this video.
That'll do it. So thank you guys for watching this week's episode with some payroll stuff in it. You know, payroll is one of those really simple things on the surface. Great work if you want to numb your mind and just, you know, enter data over and over and over again. It gets a little more hairy when you start considering certain items like overtime pay and other various things. But if you're just running yourself a small little business, odds are you might not run into very many complications. And hopefully everything goes smoothly. Unless, you know, someone forgets to give you all the time slips, and then your payroll's a mess. And then you have to do the payroll all over again for certain people, because they forgot to give you the slips and didn't follow your internal control in place. And that's very annoying. But besides that, it's good. Alright, I'm out of here. We'll see you guys next time.
So I discard a card and then add 2 Machina monsters with different names for my deck.
Okay.
Yep, one more.
I'll add...
Search.
1 Little Crunch.